Hello. This trans ideology, it's just becoming so crazy that I think it's nuttier than a pound of squirrel shit. I was reading a book there during the week, Trans by Helen Joyce, and listened to a podcast by her, and you can see now this thing by Matt Walsh in the US about his video, What is a Woman? This set of ideas, I did an article there recently looking at the origins of this trans ideology, the whole idea of gender role, gender identity, sexual orientation. Is all done by this guy, John Mooney, who got two twins, very young twins. He got one castrated at 22 months. The other twin, both were boys originally. One was castrated, dressed and told to act like a girl for the rest of his life, which he resented greatly. This Dr. Mooney also filmed the two guys, the two boys, after he made them sexually stimulate each other. Both of them went public at their abuse by this monster, and both of them committed suicide before their mid-30s. Of course, John Mooney told the world that this gender reassignment was a great success, but two suicides and child abuse is not a success. This gender ideology, or the trans ideology, basically ends up with genital mutilation, puberty blockers on children, the overturning of a civilization which is based on the reality of male and female. Of course, human life is sexually transmitted, and the idea that sex can be discarded like an old jacket is ridiculous in the extreme. Yeah, I suppose it contradicts themselves about gender appropriation or sexual appropriation. Some man letting on to be a woman. Never hear about it. What has happened is that parents have fallen asleep, and in the meantime, these trans, let's call it an ideology of idiocy, of basically it's based on child abuse, as the experiments of Dr. John Mooney in the States showed. Child abuse, sexual abuse of children. Let's be honest, a man can no more change his sex than he can change being into an elephant. Listen to that Helen Joyce there recently. Some of these trans activists now demand to be referred to as a cat, that they've transitioned into a cat. Imagine if I, for example, said I now identified as an elephant, and that everybody should call me Baba. And if you don't call me Baba, you're an elephant, you're a species phobe, and that you should be legally traduced. Everybody would laugh, but 3 years ago, people were laughing about mixed sex toilets and showers. Everybody was laughing. It was ridiculous, but now they're trying to bring it in. While you were asleep, the INTO, the queer lobby or trans lobby, and the INTO have been very busy. And there's a crowd called Educate and Celebrate. I've been very active in the INTO. And one of the patrons of this group is Peter Tatchell, who is a very well-known advocate of lowering the age of consent and has described numerous times the joys of sex between adults and children, adults and minors.
Famous filmmaker Derek Jarman, who sadly has died, he told me when he was about 50 that he had had sex with a young man when he was 9 years old. He said it was his choice. He said he wasn't pressured or manipulated. He said he had no regrets about that sexual experience. So my view is, that's what he's saying. It's his personal view as an adult, mature man looking back on his childhood. If he says that, who am I or you to dispute it?
So we've had to have parent consultations, and the only advice I can give you around that is Don't send a letter home to say you're about to embark on this work. That's the worst thing you can do. Don't hold a parents' meeting. You don't want 30 parents shouting at you. Who wants that in your life? That's an awful thing to do. But what you can do is you can survey parents. You can ask them where they feel they need help. You're not asking them if they like it or not. That's not the issue. It's in policy. We have to do this work.
If you look at that article I did in the Birkin, you can see that Michel Foucault, the great woke, king of woke, was a great advocate of lowering the age of consent. And of course, he numerous times had sex with 8, 9 and 10-year-old Arab boys when he went to Tunisia in the late 60s. So basically, we have to ask, is this all about these trans ideologues getting access to our children? And if we looked at Auchnagaran National School in Longford this week, we can see that the INTO is the first school which has put up a trans flag in Ireland. Now, parents should know that this trans ideology leads to genital mutilation, puberty blockers for the children, a higher chance of suicide. It is very damaging. Now, some kids are tomboys. I know young girls say, "Dad, what do you want for Christmas?" "I want a Man United top." They're interested in football, they're interested in things that boys do, but they grow up and they're just normal girls and all is fine. But imagine that, you feel that, what you need is gender blockers, puberty blockers, which will make you sterile for the rest of your life. Our children must be protected from this trans ideology and idiocy. It is dangerous, it is damaging to our children, and you need to stand up, write to the headmaster of your local school, tell them under no circumstances is anything like this to come into the curriculum or come into the school. Write to your TD, demand that the campaign, as the Irish Freedom Party, if elected, will campaign to scrap the 2015 Gender Recognition Act, which allows people to self-identify as they will, without any relation to reality. I would ask people to watch that video by Matt Walsh, What's a Woman, and to realize and to acknowledge that this trans ideology has many activists in Ireland, in our schools, in the INTO, and that we have to be very awake and very active to resist it. I said a few months ago, it was a tongue-in-cheek meme that when the crosses go out, the cross-dressers come in to education. That's exactly what is happening. So I would ask you to support the Irish Freedom Party, join with us in the party, and help us to make Ireland a better place for all and a safer place for our children going forward. Gura Magatsa, my name is Hermann Kelly. Thank you.